Let's talk about setting up email campaigns and physical mailer campaigns. Let's talk about organic SEO. That's what Neil Patel does so well. And let's talk about buying traffic and sending people that have never heard of you before to your store so that you have, a fallback plan.
Welcome to the My Future Business Show, where we get you in front of your best audience and keep you there. Not only are we interviewing the biggest names in business to help you become even more successful, we're inviting you to book your spot on the show to help you grow your business. So at the end of the call, make sure you fill in the interview application form at myfuturebusiness.com/interviews. Hi and welcome back to the My Future Business Show. It's Rick Nuske. I'll tell you what, sometimes I get just some amazing guests on the show, and without your support and your feedback that I have been receiving, it just wouldn't be as special as it is without you. I'm very humbled to be your host, so thank you very much for joining us on the show today. Now, today I'm on the line with Jared Mitchell. Now, if you don't know who Jared Mitchell is, let me just start by saying that he is the Senior E-Commerce Analyst for Neil Patel. Not only is he the analyst, he's also a personal friend of Neil's, and he's going to be sharing a little bit about his life's journey with his wonderful wife, Alana, and how they built a massive business base with a number of different organizations that they have created successfully. They've been involved with and working with the likes of BuzzFeed, CBS, Modern, Cosmopolitan, Hallmark, InStyle, and the list goes on and on and on. So with all of that being said, Jared, welcome to the show.
Gosh, thanks so much, Rick. I feel like that's the best intro I've ever gotten. It's good to be here.
No, look, I am truly humbled to have you on the show because this is so important for the My Future Business audience to take away value, to learn a little bit more about you and your wonderful wife, Alana. Now, Alana's not going to be on the call with us today. However, we are going to speak to some of her organizations, but I'd love to start out with how you met Alana, because it's a very interesting tale that I noticed on your website, something to do with salad.
That's true. Yeah, she's on the line to be laughing right now. We met in college. We are college sweethearts. We celebrated 16 years of marriage a few days ago, and we met when we were in the cafeteria, and I think she spilled salad on my lap. And that's basically...
Was there a message in there? Right? Hey, notice me. I'm over here.
I don't think it was intentional, but it was certainly meant to be, because, we went on our first date, and we both said that was kind of a weird date, and we couldn't really put it into words, but we're definitely soulmates. It's like... From moment one, it was like hanging out with someone you've known your whole life. It's really cool.
What I like to do when we jump into the show is learn more about that side of, and for me it's important to give context to the My Future Business audience in terms of where you were born, where you are now, what you like to do when you're relaxing.
Yeah, kind of an unusual upbringing. I was born in San Diego, and I moved to Texas and then back to San Clemente, California, then up to Oregon, and then down to California before I graduated college. So I moved around a lot when I was a kid, and it sort of taught me how to handle highs and goodbyes and relationships and the heartache and love that comes from, interacting with different people in new places. So I was able to learn how to surf when I was growing up in San Diego and San Clemente. And then I got back into it. Well, I actually surfed a little bit in Oregon too, which was pretty cold.
I can imagine.
Yeah, it's sharky up there too. And then got back into it when I came back down here. But out of college, it was kind of a weird situation, but I've always loved music, and I was in a band, and we got signed to Interscope Records, which is a pretty large record label here in the United States. It was a lifelong bucket list. Bands like U2 were on Interscope at the time. So that was a really great accomplishment for us. And Elena was doing facials and waxing in her own day spa room at the time. And basically what happened was the iPod came out shortly after we signed, and people stopped buying CDs. And the A&R rep from our label joined Dr. Dre to start Beats Audio and sort of left us hanging, and we got dropped, and we signed another contract with Virgin, and that went belly up because they went out of business.
Oh,
The
yeah.
record label Porgy.
Yeah.
So,
Wow. Talk about
anyways,
a long list of issues.
yeah, at that point I thought, this music thing is not meant to be. And the economy was poor at that time. And Elaine said, well, why don't you build me a website?
Ah.
And I said, sure, that sounds great. And I'm thinking in my head, no way. And so then, do you guys have Costco's in Australia?
Yes, we certainly do.
Okay, all right. So I don't know what they serve, if they have food courts out there. Here in the U.S., they got these food courts. And I was walking by the food court, and then they have these pamphlets that try to sell services. And back then, they had one that says how to build a website. So I took the flyer off the shelf, and I went home, and I followed the instructions, and I built Elena a website. And then basically, we went on vacation a couple weeks later, and I decided to start advertising the website. And as soon as I turned on the Google ads, we started getting calls and making sales. And it was like unbelievable. We were spending like maybe 10 cents on each click. And we were getting phone calls for $150 to $1,000 in orders. And we were making more money on a 10-minute phone call than she made like sometimes all day.
Amazing.
You know? So it really was kind of a, American dream story, I guess you could say. And we have tried to really, really take advantage of the situation and grow the businesses and, jump on the opportunity that presented itself. And that was 15 years ago, Rick.
Yeah, wow. It's amazing how time flies, isn't it?
It is absolutely amazing. Yeah. And, we've realized at this point, because we own 3 businesses now, I work for Neil doing consulting, and that's part of my business, Beefy Sites, where I consult and teach people how to sell products online. We have a skincare brand under Elena's name called Elena Mitchell, and then we have a retail store called Skincare by Elena. And we've developed those over the last 15 years, and I've realized that I just really enjoy the process. It's a lot of fun for me.
Yeah, and it's something that, going back to the Costco part of the story, it's a really interesting story how you picked up just that piece of paper. That's a very valuable piece of paper, wasn't it?
It was. I wish I would have saved it. And the company
Yeah.
that I built the website with was called Value Web. They're not even around anymore. They got bought by a company called Pro Stores. Pro Stores got bought by eBay. I think they turned into like Big Commerce or something. I don't even remember, but it was quite comical.
I wonder, Jared, is working with Alana ever been challenging, or is it just blissful all the time?
No, it's absolutely challenging because we do everything bootstrapped. And what that means to us is we self-fund everything. We don't take on any money or any investors. So basically what that means is we started in a 70 square foot room. And then even now, we've been sort of growing and morphing and leasing new space ever since. And we've had to move a couple times. But right now, we share an office. So imagine having 2 kids with your spouse and not going away from each other at all during any part of the day. You're there for breakfast. You're there for work. You're there for, the only thing you're not there for is maybe if you go to the gym or go surfing or take separate cars.
Or go to sleep.
Yeah, which barely happens when you have 2 kids anyways, right?
It's a real credit to you because I know in today's tumultuous times we are very close to each other, no matter who we are or where we are, and this does present some challenges. So, what are some of the techniques that you go through personally, Jared, when you find that you need a little space? Because I guess we all do at times.
Absolutely. For us, for Elaine and I, it's vital that every day we have our own time. And so for me, what that looks like is each morning I wake up early, and we're fortunate enough to have a hot tub at our house, and I go in the backyard and I do my, routine in the hot tub and have some time to myself before I even start the work day. So that's a key component. And then also, if there's waves, I make sure to surf once a day, not too long, not too short. And if there's not waves, I go to the gym. And those are 2 things that really reset my entire body, mind, spirit. And without it, and Elena has her own too that she does. Without those, we have an unhealthy relationship, I would say. Like, it's really hard if the person isn't taking care of themselves, practicing self-care, to have a healthy marriage or business partner or what have you.
Yeah, that's great insight. Thank you so much for sharing, Jared. I always talk about this on the My Future Business show, the routine, the daily routine, how it resets you both physically and as you've mentioned, spiritually. And what about mindset? Do you find that you have to work on that, or is it something that's, you know, uh, in a good place right now?
Well, right now we're in a good place because we've been doing so well with COVID because we're all online
Hmm.
and our numbers are up and this and that. But as a male, I find that my mental health strongly is sort of depending on how the businesses are doing financially, right?
Yeah.
And, Elena's obviously, her mental health is based on a lot of different things, being a female.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
I think first identifying and understanding those things is the first half of winning the battle. Both Elena and I tend to run high on the anxiety scale, and I think a lot of entrepreneurs do. That's one thing that sort of fuels the fire, right? But
Yeah.
yeah, we found that if we can communicate properly, get the right counseling, sometimes maybe even some medication to help us through the tough seasons, that it's a manageable process. But where people get themselves into trouble is they're in denial, either with their spouse or with themselves, and they live this like unhappy, unhealthy life where
Mm.
it's just no fun.
No.
They spend their whole life trying to pile up a big pile of money, and I've never seen a hearse pulling a U-Haul,
No. The thing I love about this sort of conversation, Jared, is that we peel away I guess, the mechanics of owning a business, and we talk about being human. Because to me, if you're not happy, you're not healthy, you may well as forget about running a business at all. Would you agree with that?
Oh my gosh, 100%. I mean, why are you doing this? Like
Hmm.
I know so many entrepreneurs because I do so much consulting with so many different types of businesses, both for Neil and for my own business.
Hmm.
And I talk to so many of these guys, so you can tell, their mission in life is to make sure that they have a successful business and make a lot of money and this and that. And I just think it's a pretty shallow goal. I mean, certainly we should have financial objectives and financial goals. Like there's nothing wrong with that.
Absolutely.
But man, when it defines who you are as a person, for me, like I ask people all the time, well, how do you define being rich? What does that mean to you? Like, and I love the guy, Robert Kiyosaki, who wrote Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
Oh,
He has a
amazing.
quote he says, rich is measured in dollars. Wealth is measured in time. For example, most people think $1 million is rich, but if expenses are 100,000 a month, wealth is only about 10 months. So
Right.
how long can you survive without working is how wealthy you are. Being wealthy is more important than being rich, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So Elena and I decided a long time ago, certainly we need money to do what we do, So we're in business to make money, make no mistake,
Hmm.
okay? But we define it by, our ability, to be able to travel, spend time with each other and our family and things that actually matter in life.
Yeah.
As opposed, you
Absolutely.
pile up too much money and it sort of stinks, So
Yeah.
that's kind of how we keep mentally healthy and motivated, right?
Yes, you strike me as somebody who is very humble and appreciates, life's gift and what you've been able to achieve. How important do you think is appreciation and reflection?
Appreciation and a reflection, I think, are hugely important. It's something that I started teaching. I was at church. My family and I go to church
Hmm.
on Sundays, usually when there's not COVID. And the speaker was talking about Benjamin Franklin. And he talked about how Benjamin Franklin wrote his eulogy and epitaph when he was 29 years old. And that caught me immediately. I was like, whoa, what is that? And to be honest, first of all, I had to Google eulogy and epitaph because I couldn't remember which one's on the gravestone and which one's, it's like I'm a young guy. I haven't been to any funerals, thank God. And so, and then what struck me is he rewrote them 3 times over his life. Okay.
Yeah.
That got me thinking about reflection. Reflection's huge to me. So every single one of my students, one of the exercises I bring them through is writing their eulogy and their epitaph for the first time. And I encourage them to write it again, because what it really does is it forces you to, God willing, we all live till we're like 80 or 90, right?
Yeah.
So when I'm 85-year-old Jared sitting around a like old folks home, probably can't surf anymore or whatever, I'm going to look back and what am I going to regret? And what am I going to, wish I did more? And what am I going to be so happy that I did? And I just don't think that people have really thought about their life that way. And for me, that's a complete game changer. It makes you appreciative of what you have and the things that actually, again, really matter and really should matter, like spending time with your kids and kissing them every day and looking them in the eyes. And things that, are you should be thankful for, like a business that you've built or a healthy relationship with your spouse, and so on and so forth. So, that's my kind of little soapbox spiel. I hope that wasn't too much.
Look, I absolutely love it. I think we're very much on the same page in this respect, Jared. I do very much appreciate that. And that's some sage insight into a life that is successful. It's somebody who can look at it from the other side of the coin and say, look, chasing the dollar is one thing, and I think on balance is probably the key point here. You need it, but don't necessarily make it the end goal.
Oh, completely. I laugh at some of these shows that, I'm on and this and that, and it's like they want me to brag about what, how much we sold or money you make or like your volume and stuff. And to me, I'm like, okay, I guess we can, but it's kind of like, I don't really care. Yeah. Oh, and for those of you who don't know, Benjamin Franklin was like a really popular early figure in American history over here. Because if you're listening in Australia,
you know who Benjamin Franklin is.
Okay, I don't know. Like, I don't know what they teach over there.
No, the world is a very small place, mate. We're on the bottom side of the earth, but we still get information through the internet occasionally.
Well, unfortunately, I don't think I know any of like the Australia leaders, this and that. So,
well, look, I said, when you come down, I'll help you, ride a kangaroo and eat a prawn on the barbie, which we do neither of. So. But coming back to the point of I guess the core of the call today, Jared. You're deeply involved with digital marketing yourself, and we've talked about some of the, I guess, the softer skills and the human side of businesses. Now, as it comes to digital marketing, are you primarily helping people with e-commerce? Are you helping them with funnels? What is the general focus for you?
Yeah, I've had to kind of go through this journey of like, okay, what do I actually have a passion for teaching, and what am I actually good at?
Yeah.
In business, what am I good at? And what I realized I'm good at is taking a business from zero and getting it to a size where it's sort of like smaller to medium-sized business. And then at that point, I really need to hire the right people to grow it for me. I'm not like the guy who's good at going and like networking and rubbing shoulders and raising money and taking it to the next level. So I need to hire that out. So I focus on, especially right now with the whole COVID coronavirus thing, helping small businesses actually grow and come out with their own product lines or private labels, start selling online and selling their own products online. Because here in the States, businesses are just getting crushed by like Amazon, major retailers. They've been forced to shut down. So I've been on a mission, and I started this club that people can join for like $100 a month, where all I do is teach them how to build their own website and start selling products online and start creating their own products, because I want to empower these small business owners to do what we've done. And so that's really where my passion and skill set is. But, in working for Neil, we also consult like very, very, very large companies as well. So I kind of have some experience, but I'd say, my real skill set and passion is more helping the mom and pop and the small business.
I look at digital marketing and I see so much rubbish out there. Let's just cut to the chase. And then when I see the likes of Neil Patel and the quality of his work and how humble he is as he goes about his day, it just strikes me there must be so many things that people try to spruik and sell to you that you just don't need. What are some of the things out there that are rubbish that we should avoid?
Oh my gosh, there really is so much,
We
and
got an
obviously I'm
hour?
not going to mention. Yeah, obviously I'd never mention names,
Yeah, of
but
course.
the first thing I'd encourage all of you to do is follow Neil, because Neil is the real deal. Like, he doesn't,
Absolutely.
he won't put anything out that's baloney. And what you're going to find is there's a space that exists you might not be aware of yet. That's like thought leadership and online education. And the problem is the people that are providing the education have never actually done it before.
Yes.
I just want you to think about this for a little bit. You might have bought an online course from someone who's simply regurgitating information.
Yes.
Now, I'm not going to say that it's bad information. They could be regurgitating excellent information. But if it's me and I'm going to hire someone to teach me something and spend my money on it, I want to hire someone who's done what they're teaching before, right?
Just a minor detail.
Yeah, right. So it blows me away that there's people teaching e-commerce that have never sold anything online before, and they have crafty ways of making it look like they have, but they haven't. So I would say first, spot check and screen check who you're actually going to take this class from. What have they actually done? Have they worked at like a marketing agency and so they haven't actually owned the business themselves? Like, really break down, have they only done consulting, So I think that's a real big one, that you can sort of dig into the people that you're interested in learning from and make sure that they're the real deal. There's a lot of people blowing smoke right now, teaching Facebook ads. The get rich quick scheme thing is simply, the new sort of Facebook guys who are running ads teaching, people how to grow businesses and make money off Facebook ads.
Yeah.
And,
It's a load of-
Amazon is a big one.
Yeah.
You just got to be really careful, because when you really break down by the class and do what they say it's going to work for you, it doesn't work, because what they don't tell you is that Facebook's expensive now.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
And what they don't tell you is that like Amazon has updated their algorithm, and then they're able to tell if you are trying to work the system. So, the methods that worked for these guys or their clients in the past, I mean, they are long gone.
Yeah.
So that's kind of a general answer, but that's what I'd say.
Yeah, thank you so much. I really love the fact that we've touched on the human side. I always come back to it because, I look at the mechanics of the business and the software and the platforms and the tools as, I guess, the harder end, the bits and pieces that you need to actually do that. So when we look at those things, what are you looking at the moment that's working and that you'd say for people to consider themselves?
Like on the digital marketing side, like what's
Software,
working right now?
platforms and the tools.
Okay, for like selling physical products online, would you say?
Typically, given that we're all in the online space primarily, there are times where there's this crossover between the bricks and mortar business and the online space. Maybe there's some tools that we could talk about that cover both of those.
Fantastic. Yeah. So, let's just kind of assume that you're listening and you have a brick and mortar business and you're looking for ways to survive the next quarantine or COVID scare or whatever that looks like in the future.
Yeah.
And your business has been closed. The average millionaire has about 7 different sources of revenue. That's 7 different sales channels. And one of the main things I see when I go in and I audit a business that's suffering is they usually only have like 1 or 2. So if you're like a brick and mortar store owner, you kind of only have 1. People walk in, they buy something, right?
Yeah.
Well, we've all seen how quickly that can be taken away from you against your will, even with the coronavirus scare. Governments shutting down businesses. At least that's what happened here in the U.S. Some of them just plain went out of business.
It's happening here
and it
too.
wasn't even their fault. Yeah. So the first tool I'd recommend you check out is Shopify. Many people have heard of it. They just announced a partnership with Walmart the other day, which is a huge retailer here in the U.S. Yeah, I don't know if it's in Australia or not. I've never been there, but it is massive.
Yeah.
And they just released an app that's competing with Shopify. They have 500,000 stores, that's sellers. Amazon, to put it in perspective, has 2 million. So they're actually not far behind. They're gaining a lot of ground.
Very quickly.
Check out Shopify. It's $30 a month, and you can learn. They will teach you for free through videos. It's a little boring, but you can get it done in one day, how to start selling online. I'm also going to introduce a course teaching you how to set up a Shopify store because theirs takes too stinking long. I'm just going to set one up that's faster because I think people have been asking me for it too long. So I would definitely recommend moving forward and getting on Shopify. And I can send you the link if you want to, you just Google how to set up a Shopify store and there are tutorials that come up. But that would be the first huge tool. I would, buy a URL, you might already own one, and get set up that store. Definitely. And then I would start laying out what other sales channels you want to invest in. And I would be thinking about, well, let's kind of think about, this fall if everything's going to get shut down again. So if everything's shut down, what is recession proof? So first of all, are you in an industry that's recession proof? Okay. I can tell you beauty is. It's survived the test of the time.
Test of
right?
time, yep.
But are you in an industry that's recession proof? Do you sell products that are recession proof? Because if you don't, you might want to consider pivoting. Okay? You got to think laterally. Are the products you offering recession? If they're not, what can you sell that is? And I can't answer that question for you because the options are endless. But that's certainly something you need to consider is the product offering and the service offering and how you will position yourself to survive. Once you figure that out, let's lay out the sales channels that you're going to set up and the keys to your survival. So let's talk about opening an Amazon store. Let's talk about, you already set up a Shopify, so you have your brick and mortar. Let's talk about starting your own brand or your own product line. It's easier than you think. Let's talk about setting up email campaigns and physical mailer campaigns, 2 new sales channels you might never have done before. Let's talk about organic SEO. That's what Neil Patel does so well, right? And let's talk about buying traffic and sending people that have never heard of you before to your store. Let's set up some new sales channels so that you have, a fallback plan. So that's kind of, did I answer the question? How am I doing?
Absolutely. A bit of a 30,000-foot overview of some tools and processes to consider. You talked about Shopify and so forth. I wonder, I often think of e-commerce and I see long lists of products. Now, if I'm a one-man band, and we typically focus in the My Future Business show on the startup entrepreneurs and the small to medium-sized business owners that want to pivot. How many actual products do they need?
1.
And this is the beautiful thing because I often hear, you need a catalog, you need multiple pages. And I'm thinking, what happens if I found one product that sold really well? Would that be enough?
I mean, have you ever heard of My Pillow? It's a big thing here in the U.S. Look it up if you want to giggle sometime. I love it. The dude's kind of wacky, and he started out by building pillows all by himself. Have you ever used one of those, what are they, kind of the dense foam pillows before?
Yes, I have.
Did you know that they gain about 30% in weight over their lifetime?
I didn't know that, and I hazard to guess why that is.
I'm not even going to tell you why that is. I think you can guess.
Yes.
It's pretty gross,
Yeah.
right? So he started a factory in the USA, which is very rare. And I love it because I love the idea of DIY, build it yourself, roll your sleeves up, right? And he started making pillows that you could wash and pillows himself. And all he makes is a pillow. And you would not believe how large that company is now. I actually don't know. You should Google it. But this dude started in literally a tin shed warehouse. All you need is one product and something to do really well. Let's get back to the basis and nature of business. Let's find a need and let's fill it. all you need is one product. I have 50. I wish I only had one.
That is some sage advice right there. Thank you so very much for sharing that, because we often do get caught up in the minutiae of what this is all about. And this brings me to my next very important point is we don't often think about business in terms of the value that we provide and the fact that we are serving others. Is that something that you educate people on? Is that is the core of why you're in business?
Yeah, absolutely. Our motto, and we just redid our messaging for our skincare businesses, is skincare with heart. So the entire idea is how can, the process of self-care for some people, and it's usually females, but a lot of males do it too, is taking care of their skin or getting a facial or a spa treatment. That's like a really special time and moment for them. And we realized that early on, and we decided to make our company all about love. So the idea behind skincare with heart is that we literally hand select the ingredients, and we literally will test it on ourselves and make sure we love it before we even release it to clients. And then if you buy any product from our store, you get a bunch of gifts, and we just try to literally start a friendship with you, right?
Yeah.
So for us, it's everything. You know, obviously it's a lot easier through consulting to love others and to go the extra mile and to show others you care. So, that one's a lot easier, but I would challenge you, what would it look like for you in your kind of business if every interaction you had with someone, ended in a friendship, right? Like,
Yes.
what if if we all viewed our interactions inside of our business that way, I think we'd have a lot more people returning.
This is one of those calls that I have just taken so much out of. You can tell that you're coming from a good place, Jared. And Alana, she's got some amazing things going on in her businesses. The fact that you're working with the top of the tree in every way, shape, and form is an absolute credit to you, given that we started off with a pamphlet at Costco. Jared, now, when people want to find both yourself and Alana, where is the best place to connect with you?
Sure. I'd probably send you to my website, which is beefysites.com. If you just also Google anything that has to do with skincare and Alana, our skincare websites will come up.
Well, there you go, everybody. So, as is normally the case on the show, I will be making the links back to Beefy Sites, Skincare by Alana, and alanamitchell.com available below this post. No matter where you find it, you will find links back to both Jared and Alana. Jared, in closing, I just have to say thank you so very much for sharing your journey, your experiences with me on the My Future Business show today.
Hey, thank you so much for having me. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thanks for joining us today. If you enjoyed the call, then make sure to subscribe, leave a comment, share us with your friends, and book your spot on the show at myfuturebusiness.com/interviews. And if you're looking for solutions that will help grow your business, then visit myfuturebusiness.com/shop.